All right, so I think people will start chiming in slowly and surely, but we've got about 21 participants right now. So again, if you've just joined us, please put yourself on mute with the exception of myself, Asher, and Ron. And we'll wait for Ro to get in here. I'll move his notes to the side for now until he chimes in. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Think Like an Executive. I'm so deeply appreciative of everyone being here, and especially to Asher and Ron, and we'll get into who these guys are and what they bring to the table and why we have them on today. So thank you so much for being at Think Like an Executive. So Asher and I actually met on LinkedIn, and I'm telling you, LinkedIn is just the best, quote unquote, social media right now. And I absolutely love it. And I think that with the times that we're in, everyone is so willing and giving and wanting to work with everybody. And Asher just hands down said, absolutely. And Ron and I mean, I've been in the industry for 20 years. Ron's been 30 plus years in the industry. And I think we might've done one deal together, but it's so strange to me that LA is such a big market with so many agents that I don't know if we've ever actually met. And I've been in the business for 20 years. So Ron, we're going to get into your bio and everything. And it's great to finally meet you. And thank you again for just jumping on the opportunity and being here. So I'm greatly appreciative, guys. So Think Like an Executive is a coaching platform that I've created, and it's really about accountability in your foundation. And it's about small and achievable goals. And if you've heard any of my broadcasts before, you can see that I break down the numbers to very simple, very easy and effective ways to get business. And we're talking in the next 60 to 90 days, you will be ramped up and ready to go. So if you have any questions, please go to thinklikeanexecutive.com. Check us out. It's kind of it's a very unique, holding a mirror to your face and accountability type of coaching platform. So let's get right into it. Asher, you've got this, you're an incredible developer. And the reason why I tapped into you was your design and your aesthetic of your homes and your properties are really, I mean, listen, we've seen all the farmhouses out there and stuff, but something about yours is unique, your character, your designs. So before we get into it, just give us a little bit about your bio and who you are, please.
Well, I started out in the clothing business, and so my design background comes from clothing. And then as that industry, massively imploded in the 2011-12, I transitioned to construction and ended up going into business with my father, Dan, who was a broker at Coldwell Banker at the time. And I, figured out the agency thing, figured out how to make money at it, knew that I wanted to make stuff every day. So it was, how fast can I get into development? And that was really what led us down that path, starting with small apartment buildings because it was the most conservative. And, I guess through proving my value, my brother and I, we worked together, proving that we could be really responsible running job sites with other people's money. We, were given the opportunity to start doing really beautiful homes. The first home we actually built together was, go figure, like a $10 million house on Carbon Beach in Malibu. So it wasn't like we started with something in Palmdale. It was,
that's where you start, 10 million, right?
Yeah,
swing for the
we
fences.
We had a really big challenge, and we had a lot of pressure to start. So, our thing has always been, kind of the be seen, not heard. We're not the big advertisers. We just try to do a really good product, stay under the radar. And there's a lot of reasons within just the day-to-day of construction why we want to stay under the radar. But, we're really the guys that we try to build a really, really high-end product that works, that lasts for a long time. And we're really focused on delivering what we say we're going to do. We're never going to be the cheapest guy in town, but the stuff that we build doesn't break and it doesn't look outdated 6 months from the day that we deliver it, because we actually have a reasonable design background. We didn't just, pick up an Architecture Digest magazine and start going, oh, I like this countertop. Oh, check out this sconce. Like we understand design from a formal perspective. So we're looking at farmhouses as they should be.
We're going to get really into your development and the design, because again, that's kind of where I discovered you. And I think that you've got some unique twists to what we're just, almost a standard farmhouse nowadays. But Ron, I want to jump to you real quick and get your background. And guys, this whole show is called Heavy Hitters for a reason. Ron's got over $1 billion sold. That's B as in boy, with $1 billion and over 2,000 homes sold. I mean, I just don't know what number is more impressive, over 2,000 homes or $1 billion. But Ron, thanks again for being here. Please give us some of your background, your bio, please.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to it. I grew up in the real estate business, so I don't know much more other than real estate. I was born into real estate while going to UCLA. I got my real estate license. I made my first sale on my first appointment. So when that happened, people looked at me and said, I think this is going to work out for you. But I did have the benefit of seeing it, as I grew up and kind of learning what it takes to be successful. My father and mother were both in the business, very, very dedicated, working very, very long hours, very serious, building relationships. And from the get-go, I learned two things about this even before I had my license, and that was real estate is all about relationships. It's about building trust with people. It's about building your name and your reputation and your brand, and having people think of you, keeping people thinking of you as top of mind, and knowing that when they call you, they can count on you, that you're reliable, that there's integrity, that there's confidentiality, and that you are a source of just a go-to person for many people in the community. Just building that element of community was something that I learned before I even got into the business. And then just work ethic, understanding the principles of the difference between working on your business and working in the business, and understanding the value of your time and time management, and juggling many balls at a time, and also making people feel like they're your only customer. All of those principles kind of came to me very, very early, and they really lasted. With all the technology and all the changes in the business, I've always said to all the agents that have been on my team, it's all about getting back to the basics and really understanding people, and really appreciating that this is a people business more so than it is a house business. And, when people talk about it having flexible hours, it's really more about, immersing yourself into this and having real estate kind of define who you are.
Great. Thanks so much for that. Listen, guys, the $1 million question right now is, how's the business? So I know, Asher, you've got a little bit of a different take on it from the development side of things. And so I want to hear from both of you. I mean, where are we at today? And I know it's a really big question, but I think it's probably the most important question to start off with. And before you answer it, everybody that's on mute right now, we have a chat section down below. So if you have a question for any of the agents or Asher developer, please let us know. Just put it on the chat over there and I'll ask the question for you and we'll get this going. But Asher, how's the market right now? What's the temperature you're reading?
With respect to construction or home sales?
Well, however you want to answer it. I mean, I think that construction is a very important part of it, because I mean, over the last 5, 6, 7 years, I mean, we've seen, so much new development, new construction going on out there. And further down my line and questioning, I've got something, a particular type of development I want to talk to you about. But, where's the market going? What's your outlook for 2020 right now?
I'm probably more bullish than most that I talk to. But I consult mostly with financial people. So I'm looking at rates. I'm looking at the fact that mortgages are up, or mortgage applications are up 9% as of today from a year ago. That was the CNBC number this morning. I feel like that's pretty positive. The cost of construction is going up every day because we live in California. We, as a state, have a vested interest in really taking care of workers and their rights and their compensation. Therefore, the cost of construction in California is vastly higher than anywhere except New York City. So, you know, homes have to keep getting more expensive in California because they cost more to build. It's really simple. But as far as what's the market doing, I think the question for me has been, how do you maintain and control investor confidence? Because a lot of people are going, you know, oh my God, we need to pull the plug. And a lot of people are going, there's nothing wrong. And I don't know that there's a lot of dialogue in between. I know my father joins the meetings with Joel Singer with CAR. And really Joel shared some numbers with him about how, you know, buyers are kind of licking their chops right now and sellers are kind of going, what? And I think that the reality is, like, this isn't 2008 and 9.
Right.
Residential real estate has not been battered by, you know, fake mortgages. This is a real estate problem for major commercial shopping center landlords. This is not going to put single family home developers in Los Angeles out of business. This is, you know, talent agents aren't moving, the studios aren't moving, tech companies aren't moving away from Los Angeles. So I personally am not scared about what's going to happen with the LA residential market.
So let me ask you, you brought up something interesting about how the housing prices keep escalating and it costs more to hire people. So, I mean, the home prices keep escalating and going up, but cost of living goes up, everything goes up. And if my salary doesn't go up, I mean, how can we all afford these? I mean, I'm shocked at some of the numbers that people are getting at $1,500 a square foot for a home when, you know, a couple of years ago, this stuff was trading at $900, $850. So something's got to give. Is it going to be the interest rates that's going to help offset that? Is it going to be housing prices? I mean, if you can't build any cheaper, how do we sustain this continued growth of 13, 14 years? Make more money?
I have no idea, other than to say that, you know, I think there's places California could look at other states with respect to, you know, the entitlement process. You know, if you can make things go faster for developers, they can build more houses. If you allow increased density in areas where it's already, you know, susceptible to density, that wouldn't be a problem. I see it less as a cost of labor thing, even though our labor costs are just exponentially high. I mean, we're talking about, just as an example, like when you're framing a house, if you're paying somebody $20 an hour to frame that house, you're paying 55 cents per dollar in workers' comp. So you're paying that person $31 for $20 in labor, and that other $11 is going to the workers' comp fund in case that person ever cuts their finger off. And, you know, like for roofers, you're paying in the 73 to 75 cents. So again, if you have a bid for, you know, $100,000 in labor for a roof, you're going to spend $75,000 in workers' comp on that roofing labor. Your $100,000 roof costs $100,000 in California, it costs $100,000 in Texas, but in Texas, you're not paying the $75,000 in workers' comp.
Well, that's interesting because you and I spoke about this before, and that was one of my questions to you, and it's still down here, is I can go buy a new construction house in Houston, Texas for $200 a square foot. Like a nail costs what a nail costs. Drywall's the same, I would think, at every Home Depot for the most part. So really it's just it comes down to labor and land. Is that what it is?
I would say labor and land. And then specifically in LA, we have a lot of land that's susceptible to the development of multi-unit, and the city does not allow for, you know, really variances and upzoning. For example, like in LA, we have a lot of blocks where you'll have, like, you know, say you have 10 properties on the block and you have a 10-unit building on the corner and a 10-unit building on the other corner, and you might have single family homes all the way throughout the middle. And half of those lots might be zoned in LA, which is RD 1.5, which allows 1 unit per 1,500 feet. There's always stuck in there in those blocks going to be R2 lots, which are only allowing 2 units regardless of what your square footage is until it's like 8,000 feet. And our average lot size in the city of LA is 6,500 feet. So you're looking at a block where the city is saying, okay, you can build 45 units here because there's 4 different zoning guidelines, or what do you call it, where a lot's zoned for, this many units. Every lot on the street is identical. But instead of saying, okay, since every lot on the street is identical, you can build 10 units on every single lot, they're saying, no, you can build 10 units on this one, 4 on this one, 2 on this one, 2 on this one, 4 on this one, 10 on this one. That's where we have the major issue with respect to, like, it's kind of planning department. It's kind of NIMBY, where people go, I've lived in this neighborhood for 45 years and, I don't want it to ever change. And it's like, well, do you live on planet Earth? I mean, everything changes a little bit. So,
right.
It's not like we're saying, oh my God, let's take the National Santa Monica Mountains Recreation Center and build 10 million apartment units on it. That's not what we're talking about doing. We're talking about, let's go into apartment neighborhoods where all the buildings are 2 units and make them all 6 units. They're already apartment neighborhoods.
Sure. So Ron, what's your take on the market right now and the outlook for 2020 going into 2021 here? I mean, we are darn near halfway through the year. I mean,
well, we started off 2020, honestly, the best year that I can ever remember in real estate. Certainly myself, every year for the last 5 years, I've increased my success, my volume, and actually even GCI all the way through year after year. And I was certainly off to that until mid-March, when just everything came to a crash. My take on it is really that it wasn't coronavirus that really made the market crash. It was the stock market. That was where the real awareness was, because I remember distinctly, I don't remember the date, but it was a Tuesday, and I had received 3 full contingency waivers in one day. And in our business, a contingency waiver that's the goal. That's when your money's gone hard, your deal is going to close, and it's just, you've cleared the path to everything other than your commission check. And by Thursday, all 3 of those people who had given me contingency waivers were looking for an angle how to cancel an escrow. So we went from going full barrel to just screeching halts with the foot all the way on the brake. And for the following 3 weeks, it was just dealing with unraveling problems and fighting over deposits and learning new CAR forms and having people throw us curves that we've never ever seen. And the good news is really that after that 3 weeks, I felt like there was a little bit of a lull. There was a little bit of a tug of war going on. Everybody had their opinions. Sellers felt this way, buyers felt that way. We started seeing the thieves all show up, and all the buyers making lowball offers and all the sellers resisting. And we had a couple of weeks where all the sellers decided to pull their properties off the market. And what's happened the last 3 weeks has been the most fascinating, with next to no properties left on the market because sellers pulled them off, and next to no new listings because sellers have been very hesitant to enter the market with all the constraints and all the new coronavirus forms and OSHA sticking their head into all of this and learning all this new material, and just utter confusion. But suddenly in the last 2 weeks, people have been writing offers on properties that were on the market previous. And I've been getting call after call from brokers saying, whatever happened to your property on such and such street? Is your property on such and such street coming back on the market? Yesterday was probably the most fascinating day I've had in the last 3 months. A property that I had on the market before COVID-19, probably came on the market 3 weeks before, a little bit maybe on the high side price-wise, had a little bit of flexibility to offer. We had nothing going on. And then right the week that COVID-19 issues really hit the real estate market, we had a low ball offer, and the owner said, forget it. I can see what's going to happen here. I can see that people are going to be making low ball offers. I'm not going to be a part of this. The property's free and clear. I can sit here for a long time. Just take it off the market. Send me back the keys. So all of a sudden yesterday, in one day, I had 2 people call me. One had seen it already, told me that they want to write an offer. Another told me that they were aware of it, but had never seen, asked me if they could come and see it. We showed it to them. Then I had a builder call me late in the afternoon asking me if the property was still available. Bottom line is I received 3 offers yesterday on this property in one day, and we actually opened escrow this morning at the full asking price. And it's a 20-day escrow, $3 million, $2,900,000.
Okay.
And interesting scenario. It's the buyer is a owner, builder, user. So it's not a developer. It's a family who wants to build a single-story home, which is an interesting thing to throw back out there later on, because there are no single-story homes available. And these people have money. They love the neighborhood. It's in Cheviot Hills. And they love the lot size, nice big lot. And they want to build a single-family, one-story home, have elderly parents, and this suits them well. They're not worried about the market. It's not a flip deal. It's not a spec deal. It's for them, and it's the children all live in the neighborhood, and they want to keep everybody close. Very typical for what's going on these days.
So that's interesting that they want to build a single-story house there, because Asher and I have discussed, and listen, I think I've been very open about, my take on the farmhouses. I think that although they are very, very beautiful, I'm seeing a lot of the similarities of each farmhouse and everything. And so I think Asher's got a great response to, why are we building so many farmhouses? Like, for me, I love Spanish, and I wish the Spanish kind of revival would come back. So Asher, give me your answer again about, the farmhouses, which made 100% sense to me. I personally think they are stunning. And guys, you got to go to Asher's website, and we'll give it at the end here and stuff. But some of the product that he's got is just absolutely stunning. So why are people not building single levels? Why are people building farmhouses over any other kind of design right now?
The reason people aren't building single levels is because City of LA's zoning restriction doesn't allow you to build single level and maximize your square footage. So, for example, our most recent project is on Kling Street in Studio City. It's a 6,000 square foot modern farmhouse. It's on a 13,000 foot lot, and you are not allowed to build 6,000 feet on one level. You have to build, roughly 4,000 feet on the first level and 2,000 feet on top. And, unlike what we saw from like 2012 to 2014, people don't want small, reasonable houses anymore. They want big houses, and they want every single creature comfort that they would go somewhere else for in their house. They want an office, and probably want 2 offices. They want a gym. Everybody likes to design a movie theater. I don't know that there actually is significant demand for movie theaters. I think there's more demand for TVs in lots of rooms so that people can watch whatever they want. But the real factor that precludes you from doing single level homes is the fact that the City of LA doesn't allow you to build your entire allowable square footage on one level. And if you want to have a big home that's, if you're building something, you still want to know that you could sell it if you had to at market rate. So you're not going to build a 4,000 foot house in a 6,000 foot house neighborhood, or a 8,000 foot house in a neighborhood where all the houses are 15,000 feet. You're going to build what all your neighbors have, because your safety is in having what your neighbor has. And so since we end up with all these 2-level homes, and based off of the guidelines, your second level is going to be about the same size as your first level, the City of LA's building department has basically said, you're allowed to build a giant box. And most giant boxes are really ugly. And some people try to, spend as little money as they can building these things. Richard Meyer builds designs the most beautiful box on the face of the earth. And if I had the money, I'd live in a giant box designed by Richard Meyer any day of the week. But everybody can't afford to hire Richard Meyer. So you got to deal with what's available in Los Angeles. And it's, you're buying a box if you're buying a new home. And it's either going to be this modern thing that is kind of squared off and has glass sliding windows, or it's going to be something else. And since we're limited to roof heights of, you know, basically not exceeding 34 feet, a lot of times they're as low as 28, we're looking at big boxes. And it just so happens that this, you know, sort of, I call it a mongrel at the end of the day, because we really don't see many traditional farmhouses. We see more of this, you know, dog from the pound that's a little bit German Shepherd, a little bit Rottweiler, and maybe some Labrador. It's got white board and batten siding on the outside. You know, it's got a metal roof. It's got subway tile in one bathroom, but farmhouses are all subway tile and all brick inside. So, you know, they don't all have red front doors either. It just happens that this farmhouse style design is a very handsome design on a very boxy house, and you can paint it any color you want, and you can use any kind of siding that you want. And, you know, coupled with the fact that there's a lot of really great designers in Los Angeles, these things have started to become really cool. And I think the most interesting thing for me has been talking to a lot of designers and builders in the South who have been building a design like this for a long time, and they've come to us. So, for example, my friend Trish Sir is a developer in Atlanta, and she just finished a project that she's calling the Beach Barn, which is an all black farmhouse in Atlanta. So like in Atlanta, everybody's seen a farmhouse before, but she did it all black, which is what we started doing in LA, which was a very aggressive take on, you know, okay, how can we take this house, which, you know, somebody that's really into modern design would say this farmhouse is the corniest thing I've ever seen. And then you paint a house in the Valley or in the Pacific Palisades black, and all of a sudden people are going, whoa, that's really edgy. You have a black house? Like, what's up with that?
Well, give her name again. It was Trish what?
Trish Sir, S-U-H-R.
S-U-H-R. Definitely want to look her up and see what she's got going on and see how is the Atlanta market, just side note.
As far as I know, it's good.
Yeah.
Trish is actually out here right now doing a 2,500 square foot closet for a client in Hidden Hills on a 25,000 square foot home. So, you know, it's
sounds a little small, but okay.
People want all kinds of stuff. Yeah. With a safe room in the closet, just in case, you know, somebody comes to visit that you didn't invite.
So Ron, out of this whole shift that we've gone through right now, and hopefully we're going to be out of it soon, tell us a little bit about kind of what you've learned about your business. And I mean, you are a very, very personable guy. You like to door knock. I mean, Palms Mar Vista was the first time I'd ever seen your signs all up and down there. I mean, you dominated that area. I'm sure you still do, but you are known as a door knocker. I mean, how has this affected you, and how have you had to change your business model? And will you continue throughout, you know, this and adapt your business accordingly with the new changes that you've learned?
Well, I've always looked at real estate two ways. One, being very active doing transactions, but my time is really spent usually building relationships and being in the trenches. One of the things that was difficult for me starting off, I was 18 years old, I got my license. People didn't feel the credibility because I was young. Then later on, of course, I had to prove myself by knowing my markets and knowing my facts and getting to make people feel comfortable with me and building trust. So one of the ways I did that was basically by being very active at open houses, which was important to meet people, helping people with whatever they might have needed, leases, finding condos. But the real place where I built my career was meeting people face to face. If not at an event, at a networking event, it would be on the street, just meeting people door to door, knocking on their doors. Sometimes it was to just offer information. Sometimes it was to provide an invitation to an open house that I was planning to hold on Sunday, to hand out my notepads, just to wish people a happy 4th of July, hand out flags, whatever it would be. You know, I would be out there to intentionally knock on the same door maybe 4 or 5 times a year. So that drip method was what I learned. and where people started to know me. And in time, especially when the market was good, many people saw that that would bring success to me, and I'm certainly not the first person to do it, but it kind of got contagious and a lot of people would do it. So I needed to find a way to separate myself from other people and not just somebody knocked on my door, but have people recognize me as somebody who has a certain charisma or a certain charm, or that brought them the feeling that I had something to offer them rather than I was looking for something for a self-fulfilling reason. So my idea would be to just generally go around, meet people all the time, and make sure that there was a relationship that was kindling. I would circle back, I would find out the name of their dog, I would find out the name of their kids, we'd get into conversation about what they do for a living and where their fantasy is that they'd like to move to one day when they retire. And so I could be more fluid in conversations when I would meet those people, which made me somebody that they would remember and look forward to seeing. Now, to answer the question, I can't do that anymore. Right now,
I mean, that was then. What about now? Because I'll tell you, Ron, somebody knocked on our door yesterday. What?
Right? I can't knock on doors right now.
Right.
I can't do open houses right now. And I can't get within 6 feet of anybody, even if I take them to coffee or take them to lunch. And if you do take them to coffee or take them to lunch, there's nowhere to go. Plus, you have to wear a mask while you're talking. So everything has changed. And I've come to realize that it is certainly about staying in touch. One thing for sure that we can do, whether it's through a presentation, whether it's through Zoom, whether it's a webinar or a FaceTime or whatever it is, or just a phone call, reaching out to people, checking how they're doing, circling back on the different things that we know about people, asking them how their daughter's doing, asking them, is the wedding that was planned for this fall, what kind of arrangements have been made now? Are they postponing it completely? Taking an interest in everything that they do, and frequently checking back with them and providing them a feeling that I'm here for you, not just because you're a client or a prospective seller, but because I care about you. And that's what I've been doing, and that's what I'm continuing to do. I've written a lot of articles. I have a blog. I try to keep in front of people by sharing information that I think is common to many people. And I really kind of bill myself as a go-to person, which I've done for a long time. People know that they can reach out to me if they need a tree trimmer or a handyman or a painter or a plumber. They also know that for professional services such as a lawyer, they need a private injury attorney or an estate planning attorney or a family law attorney, bankruptcy attorney, whatever. They know that I'm a wealth of information. Whether it's property management or a CPA, anything they need, I've kind of got people groomed to think, if I don't know where to go to, I'm going to call Ron. He'd probably have a great source for me.
Well, real quick, I've definitely checked out your website and everything. And the one thing I love about it is that, I mean, you obviously don't come across as a salesperson whatsoever. You are an advisor to your clients. And I think you've noted that multiple times on your website that I'm a resource. Use me. I have valuable information. And of course, with 30 years in the industry, you have a tremendous amount of experience. You've closed a tremendous amount of deals. I mean, how do you think that that's, if I'm a newer agent in the industry, and as you mentioned before, I don't have the credibility, I don't have the legs to stand on, how do you get over that as a newer agent, 5 years or less in the business, and not $1 billion of sales behind you? What would you say to somebody that's just getting started or getting ramped up, basically?
Well, obviously right now it's my answer is going to be a little bit different than it would have been before. But I always have told new people in the business, start with leases, offer your services both to homeowner property owners who are planning to lease and to prospective tenants, because people who lease properties graduate into their first, second, and third purchases. So that's a good way. The price point of condominiums is usually more affordable to people. So don't try to start in this market unless you have relationships established with doing $5 and $10 million homes, but go into a marketplace maybe on in California and the west side of Los Angeles, where your price point is maybe $700,000 or $1 million, $1.2 million. So you're dealing with people that can afford their first home or their first condominium, and then involve yourself with people, become active in organizations, definitely become active in a network group. And social media right now, even though I've never gone deep with social media, I think it's a great opportunity for people new in the business to chime in on Facebook groups and make comments and like different people's postings, and create your own group, maybe for first-time buyers, maybe create a first-time buyer seminar, maybe even do something like what you're doing right here. Put together a workshop or a first-time buyers seminar where people can come in and you get a lender who will help people pre-approve, go in with a lender, go in with somebody who can help with financial planning or an insurance agent, and really put together something that young people would take an interest in, especially young people who may be starting a family, getting married. They're interested in financial planning. They're interested in how to get things started, how to put money aside, how to save money for a down payment, how to get into a mortgage with very little down, how to pace yourself. So that's what I would tell somebody new in the business. Obviously, create a sphere of influence. Go back to the people that you went to school with, the people you grew up with, the people that are your neighbors and friends in the family. If you belong to any organizations, circle back. Alumni, if you went to school at UCLA, USC, make sure people are knowledgeable, send out letters. And the other thing I want to say is try to meet as many people as you can. Don't be a secret agent. It's harder now to get out. And I'm a big, big fan of thank you notes. So anytime you meet somebody, try to connect with them, try to get their email, try to get their phone contact, send out personal notes, thank you notes, and try to get to know them a little bit. Be active when it comes to if you know there's something going on in your life, a life change coming up, reach out to them, see how they're doing. Always check back, circle back.
Yeah, it sounds like basically be visible, be accessible, be knowledgeable, put yourself out there. And, you know, like you said, I mean, I think thank you cards are something I started earlier, I think earlier this year, later last year, and they go such a long way, just a simple thank you card. So be on the lookout for your thank you cards, guys. They're coming. I will tell you, we work with a girl over at Sync Brokerage in the Valley, and she had done a video, and first time on her videos, about first-time home buyers or something like that. Over 1,500 views on her YouTube page, her new YouTube page. So, I mean, listen, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to have a killer logo in the back or this side. Over here, just put it out there. Get the information out there and people will respond. Asher, coming to you, buddy. So one new construction that I absolutely love, and I'm really surprised. Winston Nelson's got a great logo. There you go. One new construction thing that I absolutely love, and I just don't know why we don't see more of it. And I will tell you something just listed over on I think it was Tahunga, and it's you know, tall, slender kind of buildings, and you know, there's like 2 or 4 units on maybe a 10,000-12,000 square foot lot, but you know, they're 3 and 4 stories, if you will, and you know, maybe 2,000 square foot, but they're built straight up and down. Houston, Texas has a tremendous amount of these. Nashville, Tennessee. I mean, I study different pockets of different markets because, you know, I followed Detroit for about 8 years, and I absolutely think, you know, listen, it's going to be a long time before Detroit comes back, but, you know, I really admire and like this design and this concept. Why don't we see more of these things? Is this something that you're interested in developing?
So this is a zoning question. The property that you're talking about on Tahunga is a small lot subdivision. And we talk a lot about that, not only in our GC company, but you know, we have a real estate brokerage as well, Ross Brothers. And we, you know, really our specialty on the entitlement side of projects is that we can get projects entitled faster than probably anybody else in the city, because we have a really, really smart team. We have my father, Dan, my uncle, Matt, my brother, Dash. My brother can get through HUD in seconds. Dan and Matt have, you know, an incredible take on zoning. You know, Dan's a very accomplished real estate attorney. We kind of look through, you know, like, what does the city allow and what do they not allow, and how can we most effectively go through the planning process. And sort of as the question before the answer to your question that I'll bring up is that you have to remember that most people are building these projects using financing. Everybody just doesn't have $10 million in cash sitting around, and they're just going to go, okay, cool. We're going to buy this lot for $2 million. We're going to sit on it for 18 months. And then when we get our permits, we're going to spend $2 million building it. And then we're going to try to sell it, you know, or rent it out for a profit. The issue that we have is that the 4-unit apartment building and the 4-unit small lot subdivision building is basically the exact same building. But the apartment building is 4 units with 1 APN number, and the units cannot be resold. And the small lot subdivision is the exact same building, but you get 4 APNs, 1 for each unit, and you can either rent them or sell them individually as if they were single family homes. So the small lot subdivision doesn't have an HOA. The reason that we don't see more of them is because if you're as good at getting these buildings permitted as we are, we can get a 4-unit building permitted in less than 90 days. From the day that we submit our plans to the day that we have permits and we're tractors on site, 90 days. That same building as a small lot subdivision, minimum 1 year. And so if you look at your typical developer who, you know, is doing 1 or 2 projects at a time, and they're probably using hard money and they're paying 9 to 12% on their money. If you say to them, hey, you know, you're buying a piece of dirt for $2 million, so you're paying 10% interest on that dirt. Would you like to spend $200,000 in interest in year 1 while you wait for plans? Or would you like to spend, you know, $45,000 in interest and get your plans in 90 days and then get a construction loan? So it all comes down to the same boring answer, which is that the city of Los Angeles makes it cost prohibitive because of the time frame to build the exact same building.
So I'm a little confused here. So a 4-unit apartment building, are you saying you're just going to rehab that and then turn it into more like a condo type thing, or
No, sorry,
put the units up for subdivision?
So in other words, if like we do new construction, that's our thing. We don't buy old buildings and kick tenants out and gut units. That's not what we do. We buy old properties that are zoned for multifamily buildings. When we're talking about this particular type of style, we're looking for, you know, lots that they have a standardized zoning across the city. They're going to be RD 1.5 or R3 is really the typical zone. They're going to be 50, 55, or 60 feet wide in general. Unless they're a corner lot, they're going to be 100 by 100. Why is that important? Because you're going to get the same number of units every time anywhere in the city. So whether your lot's in Studio City or Beverly Hills or Venice or Westchester, that 7,000 foot lot that's 50 feet wide and 130 feet deep, you're going to get 4 units on it. If you build it as a 4-unit apartment building, which is just what you're submitting the plans for, this is 4 units, they're apartments, 1 APN. We're getting that building permitted in 90 days. We're building it in less than 9 months. So we have a brand new building, 4 housing units added to the LA market in 1 year. To do that in exact same building, but get 4 APNs so that you could resell the units individually, your planning process is over a year.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's going to take at least 2 years to build the building that you've already rented in 12 months from the day that you bought it. So it's very cost prohibitive to most developers, even though it's a fantastic product.
So it kind of leads me into another question though. How, I mean, this is obviously a tremendous amount of knowledge that probably most agents wouldn't know, you know, unless they've been around the development side. And I see a lot of the same agents over and over again listing these new construction properties. How can an agent break in with a builder developer like you? How can an agent earn your business and start working with you? What's the secret recipe to show that I'm just as good as the next guy who's listing, farmhouse number 1 down the street?
Simple. The hardest thing for me to find when it comes to an agent that's going to find us deals is it's really, really hard to find somebody that listens.
Interesting.
Anybody can call me. My phone number is on the internet. My face is on the internet. My email address is on the internet. Anybody in the world can call me any day of the week and say, hey, I have a deal for you. Or I have somebody that wants to buy one of your deals. The issue is that when they call and I speak to them and I tell them, hey, look, when it comes to multifamily, we're looking for 60-foot wide lots that are this deep, or 100 by 100-foot lots. Here's what you tell your title rep. Here's where you find them. These are the neighborhoods that we want them. And then similarly with the single family stuff, it's, hey, we want flat lots in these neighborhoods where we can build 4,500 to 6,500 foot houses, or we want to be in this neighborhood and we want to build 10,000 foot houses. And then I get a call, hey, I got a great lot in Bel Air. It's got a 35-degree slope and you can build 27,000 feet. And I'm like, delete, and it's the same thing. I get that, I get that email every day from the next person that I've already spoke to. It's that, Asher, I'm writing you this email to learn if you would be interested in, and then it's some property that I'm not interested in. And then my brother gets the same email, and my father gets the same email, and my uncle gets the same email. I'm like, wow, this is so cool. You're really putting some personal detail into this, when I'm not asking for anything specific. It's just like when I tell you, hey, I'm looking for this kind of a lot. I'm going to build a brand new house on it. I need to tear this house down. And the first call I get is, hey, so would you be interested in remodeling X, Y, and Z? And it's just like, no, I told you exactly what I need. You can call me and ask me anytime, hey, do you think this is a good idea? Hey, is this? But all you have to do is just give developers what they ask for, because we have very strict guidelines. Like, every developer doesn't have their own money that they can just pull all the triggers. I have investors and I have guidelines that I have to follow. So my risk tolerance is based on the investors. So it could be the coolest project in the world, but when somebody calls me and says, hey, how about this great thing on the beach in Santa Barbara? And I'm like, my investors' criteria is City of LA. And they go, okay, cool. Well, would Newport work? And it's like, I don't make this up. It's just a conversation that you get every day. It's just, it's really simple to listen and just go, hey, Asher, I haven't found that 60-foot lot yet. I keep finding a lot of 45s. Is there a good use for these 45-foot lots? I'll tell you, you know what? No, that's why they're all still for sale. It's why they're all priced high. It's why they're not getting redeveloped, because we want the 60-foot ones. And as soon as I get a 60-foot one, I'll usually buy it.
Yeah. I mean, Ron, wouldn't you agree that that's the problem with, no matter how long you've been in the industry, that agents just don't listen? And the client says, I want to be here, I want to do this. And then you send them something, like, hey, what about Laguna? What about Newport? And you're like, dude, I told you I want to live in Santa Monica. Well, it's beach. I completely agree. Ron, what do you think?
So it really is exactly what you're saying, but there's more to it. It's about qualifying people, knowing what questions to ask, asking the right questions, and being able to take that information and logically use it. So we have all different builders that we work with, and very much like Asher says, each builder has their own criteria, and you have to appreciate and respect that. Some builders don't need a projection, a pro forma built for them on how this project is going to play out, because they're very sophisticated and they can build that pro forma themselves. Others need a little bit more direction. So first of all, you have to understand your client. You have to understand how sophisticated they are and how their operation is built. And you have to respect who they are. When an agent gets new in this business and they start pitching properties to a developer who's been around for years and years and has a lot of experience under their belt, I totally understand why they would respond the way Asher does. Their time is money, and they're busy, and they don't want to reinvent the wheel and teach new agents the business. If their criteria is that they want no slope, they want a flat lot, they want a minimum square footage. They want a minimum frontage. They don't, they expect that you've done your homework and that you have basically qualified these properties before you waste their time. So it's the same thing. Our parents taught us when we were age 3, don't cry wolf. If you're in pain and you're being hurt, scream. But if your brother is just slapping you, don't act like, you're about to be eaten by a lion. It's the same thing here. You really have to respect and appreciate that these developers know what they want. And if you don't understand why, then go back to your team leader or your broker and ask them to explain to you. Go on the internet and do some research, understand what those guidelines are, understand what mansionization is all about if you're doing single family. And each city, Santa Monica, Culver City, Beverly Hills, each of them have their own criteria, but it's public record. And you can go on yourself and become much more educated. And instead of bragging about how educated you are, show it in the actions and let those builders, just like anybody else, respect you. So here's the other thing. If I call one of my builders, they're going to call me back. But the average agent, if they call a builder and say, I've got a hot property for you, they're not going to call them back because the last 6 properties that they pitched that builder were all a it's not for me scenario. So
Right.
If you cry wolf, you're going to be in trouble and no one's going to call you back.
Yeah. While I'm thinking about it, guys, I did something a little fun for you real quick. So wanted to share this with you. We have a sponsor today. So here's a little word from our sponsor. Hopefully this will work. Hey everybody, it's Coach Galardi, and wow, what a show we've done for you so far, right? I hope you're getting a tremendous amount of value from our panelists, and thank you so much to our panelists for being here today. Real quick, we want to offer everyone watching this stream a free 30-minute, no obligation coaching seminar with me, Coach Galardi. That's right, we want to talk about your business, your goals, your objectives, all in 30 minutes and see if coaching is right for you. So please email me at coach@thinklikeanexecutive.com. That's coach@thinklikeanexecutive.com, and let's put something on the books and talk about your business. Now back to your show, and thanks so much. Keep enjoying. Bye-bye. All right. I thought that was something a little different. All right, so I want to talk numbers here because I love numbers. We're going to share a slide right here, and let me show you this. So as we're talking, can everybody see the slide?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So this year alone, and I want to talk big numbers. I want to talk to the big properties here. And I want to see if I'm on target, if what we're looking at is reality or a sign of the times or what. So Travis from Uber, he just bought property. I think it was Bel Air, if I'm not mistaken. Bought it for $43.3 million. I put the days on the market of 156 days, which is, we don't know if it's accurate or not because the MLS claw decided to hold off on days on market, but at least 156 days on the market, previously listed or originally listed for $75 million, 43% off of the asking. I mean, I know about overpricing a little bit. And I mean, when you talk about these mega $1 million homes and these mega mansions, and it's a little tougher to price, and you kind of shoot for the stars and whatever, but 43% off the asking, that is a haircut and a half. And then Kylie Jenner, we all know she just closed her deal for $36.5 million. I mean, she got a tremendous deal, 33% off of the asking, previously listed for $55 million. And then we've got another one over here for $36.5 million, 36% off the asking, 383 days off of the market, at sold for $23.5 million. So I know we're talking about the ultra luxury here and stuff. Asher, I mean, a couple of these are new development and stuff. I mean, is this the sign of the times? Is this just Uber luxury market and this is what happens? I mean, these are big haircuts.
Is the question, why is the difference between the selling price and the asking price so great?
Well, I guess, from a development standpoint here on, like Kylie's at 33% off, are developers a little scared of where the market's at in this ultra high-end luxury? Because I'm seeing some different numbers on the 3 to 6 million that I've got next. So are developers just like, hey, look, man, let's just cut our losses. We're nervous about where the market trend is going for just the ultra luxury?
Well, I know that some investors are asking the developers they work with to do that. I would more likely defer to Ron on this one, but I can tell you that, you know, from a developer's perspective, whenever I look at these numbers, you know, I don't have the square footages in front of me, but I'll speculate that these houses are anywhere from 10,000 to 15,000 feet, right? So, you know, like, I mean, I know that I've looked at the Jenner one. It's in Palm Springs. So right off the bat, I can tell you that the dirt costs nothing, you know, with respect to the home price. That the dirt might have cost, you know, 10% of that 36.5.
Well, I think this is the one. Isn't this the one she bought in Holmby Hills, Ron?
You know what? That's not my market. I really don't know.
Yeah, I think this is the one she bought in Holmby Hills, and then she's also buying another one in Palm Springs as well, or maybe her sister.
Sorry, I thought it was the one in Palm Springs.
Yeah. But regardless, I mean, I'm seeing some big haircuts. So
the same logic, I think a lot of it is that, you know, you have every developer, you know, spec invest. I mean, these are like major spec investors. They're a little bit different from the developer thing. You know, and just in terms of developers, like we have many different personalities. There's a lot of people out there building these homes in LA that have really, really big egos. They think this is the coolest thing that you could ever do besides, you know, being an actor. You know, we used to have a joke that like the coolest thing that you could do in Los Angeles was be in the denim business, because in the 2000s, if you owned a denim brand, I mean, you were like practically a celebrity because you hung out with celebrities and, you know, everybody wore your clothes, and that was this big thing. And now it's like, oh, I built this house and so-and-so bought it. And,
right.
You know, in my office, it's, well, who cares? You know, I don't care who bought your house, but there's a lot of people that, you know, are very taken by the LA thing, and they want to be able to say, oh, you know, I sold my house to so-and-so. And it's as if, you know, since Travis Kalanick or Kylie Jenner bought their house, that it's worth more money than if Jamie Dimon or, you know, Barbara Streisand bought their house. I don't know. But I think a lot of these is that the asking prices are very, in my, you know, metric, they're arbitrary. Like, developers are buying properties looking to make 40%, you know, and if they don't make 40% and they miss, they're trying to make 25. So when you have somebody that spends $10 million on a piece of dirt and they do their construction for $10 million and they list it for 50, well, I mean, they could have sold it for 30 and made a 50% profit, have been a hero. But there's a tremendous amount of greed in this high end because of the ego attached to it. That's just my take.
All right, so Ron, I'm going to throw out the 3 to 6 million price point at you right here, hopefully. There we go. So this is a 10-mile radius from Beverly Hills, everything from January 1 this year, 3 to 6 million. Now, I mean, I thought this was a very encouraging number. 255 properties sold in that price range. Now you got Berkeley, 902 Berkeley, or a new construction over in Santa Monica, beautiful looking property, 41 days on the market, 8% off of the asking. You got Bel Air, 12% off the asking. Tarzana, a little bit of a big price jump there, 20% off of the asking. To me, I mean, we're trying to talk to agents here, Ron, also. This is one of the key things that I always show clients, and it's like 41 days, 66 days, 110 days. Are you on the 30-day plan or the 4-month plan? And you can see what happens when you're on the 4-month plan. You're taking a 20% haircut on your property. These properties were grossly overpriced. They should have been at $395 originally, the Tarzana one, and they probably would have gotten multiple offers because people would have perceived value. I mean, what are you thinking about these numbers here? Because I think these are encouraging numbers for the most part.
Well, as I said, the market, the first 3 months of the year was just on fire. We had multiple offers, probably on 35 to 40% of our offered listings. Most of our properties were selling within 2 weeks. And I think my average sale price in the last 2 years is probably at 97% of list price, with many of them going way over. I mean, when you're talking the $3-6 million market, I would tend to break that into two markets. Certainly the, you know, $2.5 to $4 million market is much different than the $4 million to $6 or $4 million to $7 million market. What we did find, which is staggering and very interesting to the public, is that in the $3 and maybe up to $4 million price range, we were attracting, believe it or not, a tremendous amount of first-time buyers, people who had never owned a home before, coming directly from a rental situation into their first home, up to $4 million, with the average down payment at least at 50%. So you're talking people with huge down payments. And of course, the question that all of you viewers are asking is, where did they get the money? And what we're finding, and again, Los Angeles is a huge place and there's a lot of people. That doesn't necessarily define what goes on throughout the rest of the country. But there is a tremendous amount of wealth in Los Angeles, a lot of pension funds, a lot of inheritance, a lot of family help, family assistance, parents pitching in. And typically what we find is that people will qualify for a loan, say it's for $1 million or say it's for 1.3. Basically, there is a certain criteria of what those people are used to, either what they grew up with or what they're leasing currently. And it's more a matter of, okay, what is the lowest price house we can find that isn't stepping down from your lifestyle? And in LA, hard as it is to believe, for a lot of people to buy a home of less than $3 million would be a big step backwards in their current lifestyle. So if they qualify for a $1.5 million loan and to not step back from their current way of living, it takes a $3 million purchase and there's family money for $1.5 million. Voila, like magic, it's done. $1.5 million is their loan. $1.5 million is the gift from their parents, and they move right into their first home, which is a replica of basically what they're leasing currently without having to step back. And everybody's happy. Only here in LA, and maybe in New York or San Francisco.
So Ron, I know you touched on it briefly. We got a question from one of our audience members here. How can an agent network and meet people today when I can't get 6 feet and within 6 feet of them? So, I mean, you touched on it briefly, but can you kind of recap that again for us real quick? How can I meet as an agent new clients?
The most important thing is to go back to the relationships that you already have. If you've never sold a house before, you can't go back to your past clients and ask them to send you referrals, their children, their parents, and all that. But you can start small. Start by meeting people and being active, going on social media, taking an interest, and commenting on people's posts. Start a first-time buyers workshop on YouTube, post something, do something together with a mortgage lender, ask for referrals from your CPA. If you have a personal CPA, reach out to them. Who do you know? If you have parents who are involved in anything, they're members of a country club. If your parents are members of any sort of organization, if you're active in your church or your synagogue, you're friendly with your neighbor, go take your dog to the dog park. It's amazing just going out to the dog park with your mask on, how other people will be there. Get into conversation at the dog park. There's always, the idea is get active in terms of meeting people and socializing with people, even if you have to do with social distancing. It's more challenging now, but you've got to be out there. Let people know who you are. Don't be a secret agent. Give out your card, give out your branding. You know, people give out pumpkins at Halloween and flags at 4th of July. And we gave out hundreds and hundreds of thank you to the first line workers with no branding on the front, but I had a little bit of branding on the back. Go out and invest in something where you're making people feel like it's all about them and it's all about community. become active in a homeowners association, become active in parent-teacher, PTA type of things. Go ask at a seniors center if you can sponsor a bingo game or whatever it is. Become a sponsor, become active, show that you care, become community-minded, and meet people. But the main thing is to think first, who are those people that you already know? The people you went to school with, the people that your parents know, the people that you know from your religious organizations, you know, and your past friends. That's
what Think Like an Executive is really all about, man. It's about your foundation and really going back to the basics. I mean, it's your sphere. I mean, who do you know? How many friends do you have on Facebook? And I always say, do your friends on Facebook know that you're in real estate? Are you the authority and the go-to person for your friends on Facebook? I've got 787 friends or something like that on my personal Facebook contacts, and I guarantee you they all know I'm in real estate. So we got another question. Hold on one second. Ron, real quick, has your marketing budget increased, decreased, or stayed the same right now?
So most people are pulling way back. We pulled back on our postcards because people really didn't want to touch mail, and also people felt that this was not the time to be soliciting business. But I did a lot of postal campaign, with guidelines on how to stay safe and what you can do during COVID-19, and also explaining the CARES package and how people could deal with tenants that were not performing. So I did a lot of give back type things, but not a lot of solicitation. So I would say that I kept spending my money, but I spent my money in a different way. It wasn't much to do I totally gave up on the just listed, just sold postcards because I felt it was very inappropriate. What I did for the first time in a long time just now is I started buying some Zillow leads just in the last few weeks for one of my buyer's agents, because Zillow leads probably are going to be very good right now because buyers are back out there looking with the low financing, great interest rates, and recognizing how important it is to have a home and having a little bit more time to reach out and research properties. I think the most visited platform in the last couple months has been Netflix, but right after Netflix, I would say Zillow is probably the next.
Sure.
So we have been putting some money out there. So to answer your question, I would say I've reallocated the money that I've spent, but for me personally, I think I'm spending just as much.
Asher, where are the opportunities? A couple years ago, Highland Park was the hot spot to go to, West Adams District. Where are developers looking, or is it just, if it fits in my box, I'll buy it?
It's if it fits in my box, I'll buy it. It's more a sense of what neighborhoods aren't people going to. I usually think of it as, we really kicked off North Hollywood in 2014. And, now the last property I looked at in North Hollywood, for example, we were buying, dirt to build apartment buildings for $400,000 to build 4 units. The last piece of dirt I looked out there was $900,000, had 21 offers. And the difference is that there were 3 of us doing the apartments in 2014. Everybody and their mother heard about it now. There's a lot of competition for people to do 1 or 2 deals. And I do feel that this will take this little economic, spot we're in. I think it'll take a lot of the, whatever you call them, the team, one's an architect and one's a contractor, one's a realtor, and, one's, reads design magazines. And so they're going to buy a house and redo it, or they're going to buy an apartment and redo it. I think that'll get filtered out a little right now. LA seems to me, in my experience, both, as a real estate agent and as an investor and developer, is that your good locations are your good locations. It's like, where's the best spot in LA to buy? Between Montana and Sunset, west of Barrington, east of 7th Street, like, you literally cannot lose money building stuff there.
Sure.
It's more about, to me, it used to be about, you know, hey, we're the first people in this neighborhood. And a lot of people got to know our business as, you know, we kind of built the nicest house on the block that hadn't been, you know, redeveloped yet. And now I look at it more that if you build a really quality product in a really good location, you're going to be compensated for it. I personally am not interested in getting somebody to recognize that, you know, oh my God, you know, Studio City is a great alternative to Brentwood. Now, people that want to live in Studio City wanted to live in Studio City before. And the same thing, you know, if you work in the Valley, you don't want to live on the West Side. If you work on the West Side, you don't want to live in the Valley. So to me, it's about really quality product in good locations, as opposed to, you know, hey, here's a neighborhood where nobody thought of. I feel that it's riskier with the capital.
Ron, you got a hot area that you're looking at right now? People are driving people to?
Well, Mar Vista has come out of the woodwork. I mean, Mar Vista has been a hot area for a long, long time, but it's probably the most popular area on the west side, just because of the price point and the proximity to Venice and Beach. So I would say Mar Vista Palms is definitely hot for those reasons, but people are definitely venturing east and south. Anything along the Metro line tends to have garnered a lot of attention, going all the way east of Fairfax and then of course Silver Lake and those areas out toward the further east and north have been popular and growing for the last several years. But I would say it's more the price point and the proximity for convenience. Anything that is convenient to downtown LA, all those areas along the metro are all cleaning up and all becoming gentrified. And, you know, just anything around downtown is just becoming eye candy for people.
Ron, we got another question from our audience members here. Do you stage houses, or do you suggest how do you suggest people present their homes? Should houses be impersonal?
Well, that's hard to answer just giving a global answer. If you have a house that's a quality home, something that a developer just built brand new, or something that's in stunning condition and it's vacant, there's no question about it. Staging should give you probably, when it's all said and done, a 6 to 8% additional return. But if it's a fixer-upper house and you're selling it as a fixer-upper, personally, I don't like staging those kind of homes because I think that it's trying to pull the wool over somebody's eyes, and it's like putting lipstick on a pig. A fixer-upper is a fixer-upper. And a home that needs, you know, that's tired, that needs work, is just that. And you should be proud of what you've got. I mean, if it's a house that basically is a meat and potatoes kind of basic floor plan house in a good neighborhood, it's a solid value, you've priced it accordingly, you don't need to stage it. You just need to show people, here's the attributes of the neighborhood, this is what we've got to offer, here's the basic floor plan, here's the potential of what can be done here. And you know, sometimes I'll suggest to a homeowner, don't stage it, because it just basically shows the buyer that you're being very honest and that you have true integrity. You're not trying to persuade them that you're selling something different than you have.
Asher, is new construction staging mandatory? You got to do it? What's your thoughts?
As if you don't sell it before it hits the market, definitely.
Okay.
It is. I think a lot of people do some really corny stuff. You know, I'm not big on the you know, the what do you call it, like the art from Cost Plus that's like, you know, a 4-year-old had a paintbrush and did red and a green stripe and a blue stripe and a pink stripe. I mean, you should be able to put cool stuff in these houses. It's a really cool product. It's a really cool city. You know, I think that part of the staging goes back to something that Ron was talking about in terms of, you know, getting your clients. It's like the more authentic you are, and that's a word that gets thrown around a lot. It's about like, hey, this is what I'm like. This is why people like me. There might only be 3 people that like me, but they like me a lot, you know? And I think that people like products that are authentic. And so, you know, if you're putting really weird staging in a property that doesn't need it, like Ron said, it's kind of disingenuous. And also, you know, I really like the point that Ron made about being proud of your product. Like, I'm stoked on every product that I sell. And, you know, it's about being a little bit fluid and being able to go, you know what, I'm going to get into the vibe of this thing. This is going to be really fun. And at the end of the day, it's like, if everything you're just trying to, you know, be as conservative as you can, spend as little as you can, there's no fun in that. So you have to have a little bit of fun with your business too. And I feel like with, you know, with the staging, with interior design, with, I mean, even, you know, I mean, I've seen some people go over the top with their open houses. You know, I would never go to a cocktail party with real estate agents because, you know, that's the last thing I'd ever want to do. But apparently it's really popular on Instagram for real estate agents to do.
That's the best.
I think people should have some fun with their business at the end of the day. I mean,
Right.
you got to make money, but you should have a good time while you're here. You know, it's not forever.
I love it. I love it. All right, we're going to do some kind of lightning round questions here as we start winding this down. Let me see here. Ron, we got the Clear Cooperation Policy 8.0. What about these high-end clients? What about I mean, you know, what are your thoughts on the Policy 8.0 right now? I mean, is this a good thing, a bad thing? What are we doing with the people that want to be private sellers and buyers? Private sellers, really.
So this whole thing about off-market properties and pocket listings, there's this whole battle going on. To me, it's rather ridiculous. It involves a tug of war that's going on between the MLS and Zillow and Redfin. And I'd rather stay out of that. I think I happen to be the owner of a very high-end property. And my fear about putting that property on the market, honestly, is that I don't want to have market time working against me. I don't like the idea of somebody saying that that property's been on the market 206 days and having to live with that. I feel that the product that I've got is something that's going to be sold more word of mouth. There's only probably a handful of people out there who are qualified to own something like this property. And I would know exactly how to pitch that to which circles and which brokers. And personally, I would like to think that I have that choice and that option as the owner and as a broker, how I would like to pitch a property. If I want to pitch it privately, if I want to pitch it on Compass website only, or if I want to pitch it on my own website only, I personally feel I should have the right to do that. But we'll see where it shakes out. For right now, we're not allowed to do that. The only thing we're allowed to do really is to pitch it within our own company, but not on a platform that's other than the MLS. They're requiring that every listing be on the MLS. And I feel that's reaching too far. And I think it's a personal tug of war that they're taking to the public.
All right, so another question. The same person had asked about the staging. How important are the outdoor spaces right now to people? I know that Refkin came out from Compass and said something like searches of homes are up 83% with homes with pools. So are we going to now see a shift that the outdoor space is just as important as the indoor space? Asher, any thoughts on that real quick?
Yeah, sure. To me, the LA buyer, I mean, the home buyer, the people that live here, period, and specifically speaking to new construction, these are people that are buying really nice products. People that buy new houses are the same people that buy Range Rovers and Ferraris and cool clothes and, you know, cool sneakers and go to Laker games or whatever it is that they do. You know, people are proud of their stuff. And you're either somebody that likes to go to nightclubs and restaurants, or you're somebody that likes to stay at home and have all your friends over. And you can also be both. And people want to have every single thing at their house in LA because it's really fun to hang out at people's houses. We have great weather and, you know, a lot of the different neighborhoods are really cool. And somebody that has spent my almost entire life here, I met more people at house parties and barbecues than anything else. And so I think that people are really like the idea of, they have their home gym, they have their yard, they have their pool, they have their everything. And every time we have, one of these economic downturns, it's like, I remember in 2009, it was like everybody that had a private jet was selling their private jet, right? To like save face or something. But then a year later, they all bought a new plane because there were great deals. So I think that in LA, everybody wants every single thing that they can have. I feel like the COVID-19 thing will be an excuse to say, well, I used to go to, LA Fitness, but, then, it was just a much better idea that we built a gym at our house and we have the trainer come here. I don't think there's anything wrong with having every single thing that you want at your home. It makes life a lot easier and it keeps traffic off the road. So I haven't seen anybody say, I'm really bummed that this house has an office. I'm bummed that this house has a gym. The only thing that I don't understand for the most part is movie theaters, but I defer to Ron on that one.
Ron, how about the outdoor space? Is it just as important as the indoor space now?
Absolutely. I mean, everything's pretty much been said already, but yeah, pools, spas, areas. I think the idea of the humongous size backyard is not as important as having, Ashley was mentioning the same thing with the theater, of having different places where TVs are. So you can go to this room and watch TV. It's the same thing with the backyard. Rather than having the theater and the big backyard, people want spaces, a nice area to entertain, a nice area to lounge, to read, to get the sun, to put the hammock, to put the jacuzzi, different individual spaces, something that's more, that where you can capture the view, and somewhere else where you've got some foliage and privacy, just different places that you can roam around as opposed to the football field, which is nice, but it's not as functional and it's not as much of a deal.
So the last question I got for both of you guys, and then if there's any more questions, please get them in now in the chat, everybody. Have you guys ever done coaching? Are you in coaching? Asher?
I played a lot of sports.
Okay, but you've been coached. I mean, that's still coaching. You've been coached. And the fundamental of the coaching is basically accountability and stuff, but you're getting a direction, you're getting a game plan, and I love it. That's great. What sport did you play?
I played water polo and baseball. Okay. And, I don't think that I've done any like performance coaching. I know that I've seen Steve Schultz's business, cards, and I read through the cards before, like the rebuttals. I think that stuff's really cool. I've never done it myself. But I'm a huge book guy. And so I devour, all kinds of books. Like I'm a big fan of Attracting Abundance. You can negotiate anything. Like, I read these things all the time just because I feel down or I feel like an idiot or I forgot how to do everything in my life. And I pick up one of these books and I read a couple pages and I'm like, oh, right. I am a nice person. I do things with the intention that I'm going to, improve my life and improve the life of others. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, wait a second. I remember, how to go to work again. So I think it's great whether you coach yourself or whether somebody else is coaching you. I do help a lot of other people with their businesses. So, I'd love the opportunity to have somebody help me with mine on a regular basis. I do help a lot of other people with, consulting with how do I negotiate this, with, hey, I want to start this business, or hey, I want to buy this or hire somebody. How do I do this? And apparently I get, contacted as a resource for that because somebody trusts me. I don't know why, but.
And Ron, what about you? Coaching, ever done it, in it?
Well, I've been a coach for years and years myself. I've written over 200 coaching pieces myself, and I've never really done it professionally other than having my own real estate company at one point. I had 28 agents, and that was actually not something that I enjoyed as much. But I do enjoy coaching people kind of on a one-on-one, and I do that daily in my real estate practice. People always come up to me. The thing that's most exciting to me about coaching is it's about just doing it, staying accountable, having a mentor, that keeps you accountable, being accountable yourself, having a business plan, sticking to your plan, checking in if you're really on target, doing what you're supposed to do. But the whole idea of coaching, I think, is great. I think most people are relying too much on somebody else to make it happen for them. And they have to realize that there's a lot of work involved themselves where they really have to stay active. The coach is great to make sure that you check in with, to keep you accountable. But where I think the biggest mistake people make is they think by hiring a coach, they can basically put that coach in charge of making them successful. And there is no substitute at all. And I'll say it over and over till I die. It's just putting in the work, putting in the effort, putting in the time, the conscious efforts that you make every day, and staying on top of it. Do it, just like Nike says.
Yeah, I mean, coaching's accountability. And, I think coaching's great. And I've told the story before when I was top 50 in sales over at Keller Williams back in the day. I looked at the top 10 and 9 of those guys were in coaching, and they were all, it was about accountability and having to report back to somebody about, I did these little missions or I did these small and achievable goals to hit my 50 million this year. All right. 2 last questions. I'm going to get you guys to pitch whatever you want to pitch. Tell us where we can find you. Ron, what type of prospecting do you do? And what is the first thing you tell an agent you are coaching to do? I hope that makes sense. I mean, prospecting, I think we kind of covered in the beginning that, you're all about your sphere and you reach out to people. And so what else can you elaborate on that quickly as we wrap this up today?
Well, I would leave people with the idea that there are 2 things involved. You've got to work on your business, which means doing your transactions, and staying in front of people who are buyers and sellers who will be doing a purchase or a sale in the next 90 days. You have to very consciously be thinking at all times, is the person I'm talking to potentially going to buy or sell a house in the next 90 days? That's half of the business. The other half of the business is building your brand and that drip method where you're showing people who you are, you're creating relationships, you're kindling those relationships, and you're looking to the future as how to build your business in an ongoing way, and having people in the community know you as a go-to person, top of mind, where you are building the trust and the credibility. And I would say this, think of yourself always as a politician. You're out there, you're campaigning for the vote, and how do people see you? And how do you see yourself? And how are you positioning yourself in people's minds as a candidate to be voted on as if you were a politician? So if you're doing the same thing, both working on trying to be active with buyers and sellers who are slated to buy or sell, and at the same time, you're working on your campaign at all times, dripping on people in a very positive way, showing them your personality, your charisma, your charm, showing them your knowledge, your wisdom, the ability you have to negotiate and to speak in their behalf and guide them in one of the most important transactions they'll ever make in a lifetime. And building that at the same time, that will make you successful.
Asher, real quick, what is there a rule of thumb for price per square foot when building? If I'm speaking to somebody that says that they want to go flip something or develop a property, if I'm building a 6,000 square foot single family, can I just say, it's going to cost you X per square foot? Is there a rule of thumb?
No.
No.
It's always based on the
market.
budget. It's always based on the client's budget. The cost of lumber and steel fluctuates, but anybody can look up those numbers. They're commodity prices. You can call BMC, you can call Gannett Hall. They sell lumber and steel. But with respect to cost per foot, no, because every single project is completely different.
Sure.
The only thing that's fixed is, like I said before, workers' compensation and general liability. Those are fixed per dollar costs. When you hear about people, I don't know why, but it seems to be this thing these days where, so-and-so built this for, this much, and I heard so and so had to spend this much. There's a lot of ego in how little people spend, which doesn't make any sense because good isn't cheap and cheap isn't good when it comes to construction quality. It's just simple, but it's always going to be budget based, and we see a lot of people come to us. I'm doing Malibu fire rebuilds right now, and I feel terrible about seeing these plans where people have designed all glass, steel, concrete houses, and they're going, yeah, our budget was $2 million to rebuild this house, and I'm looking at the house going, my materials and labor cost is $3 million. As soon as I looked at your plans, that's before I even make a dollar. Which I think the important thing that I could share with respect to this question is that we're a design build contractor. And what that means is that we generally with our clients come in on day one. So the day that you find a piece of dirt, you tell us what you want to build. And then we can either provide an architect or work with the architect that you choose, the engineer that you choose, to help them design a house that not only is going to work for you, but it's going to be within your budget. So if you say, hey, we're going to build this house in Brentwood and we want to spend $5 million, we're going to design a house with your architect that costs $5 million and not $6 million. And the thing that we see a lot of is people go, oh, look, this thing already had plans. It's already ready to go. So how quick and how cheap can you build it? And you're going, well, I don't know who designed this house. I got to look through this house. I've never worked with this person before. Oh, that's really cool. It's got all this glass and steel. That's great. Is your budget $1,000 a foot to build this house? And they go, what? No, it was $400. And you go, okay, cool. Well, can you call the engineer and have them take out all the steel and replace it with glue laminated beams? And they're going like, you can do that? It's like, yeah, that our whole value proposition is that, if you have a certain budget to build a house, we can probably build within that budget within reason. It's about, not hiding the ball from anybody. And this whole real estate process works so much better when everybody's collaborative, when the real estate agent and the builder and the developer and the architect are all on the same page. And, I saw as an example in the business early on, Janice Sircone and Michael Mannheim have a company called J-Man Properties. And I remember talking to them. I ran into them at an open house and we were talking about the projects that they were doing. And they said, hey, if you ever have a great deal for us in Malibu, call Ellen Francisco, that's our agent. If you ever have a great deal in the Palisades of Brentwood, call David Offer, that's the agent, and we'll be happy to work with you. And if you ever need a trade to work on one of your projects, call us and tell us what it is that you want, and we'll try to help you out. And when everybody realizes that if everybody's getting paid, then everybody's going to have a better time and the project's going to get done a lot easier, everybody ends up making more money.
Sure. Guys, I can't tell you how much I appreciate all of your time today and stuff. So Ron, tell us where can we find you? How can we get in touch with you? Any parting words?
Thank you. I am definitely interested in any opportunities there might be for people who are buying and selling. My website is Ron at Ron Wynn, or my email is ron@ronwynn.com. I do have a blog. I am probably going to start a little bit of my coaching up again. It's complimentary. So if anybody wants to be added to my list, I'll be happy to add them to my list. It's not reliable. It's not something that I do on a regular basis. And it's certainly not something I would substitute for a great coach like the one you have right here. But if you do want some little hints, usually what I do is I'll write something out that is kind of something that I want my team to really be mindful of and concentrate on. And at the same time, I put it in writing and I'm happy to share it. So if you want to reach out, you're welcome to.
All right. Asher, where can we find you, buddy?
You can find our construction company at rossgc.com. And you can find our projects when they hit the market at rossbrothersla.com. We have 2 gorgeous projects on the market right now. We have property on Carbon Beach, $8,995,000. It's a really cool mid-century modern revival, and a classic modern farmhouse in Studio City that's co-listed with Gail Steinberg in the Beeman Park neighborhood. That is 3375, and that's going to make somebody really happy really soon.
All right, guys.
You can
Again,
call me anytime for questions on real estate, development, construction, and yeah, we're buying stuff too, so don't hesitate.
that's awesome. Guys, thank you again so much for your time. I greatly appreciate everybody tuning in. Please go to thinklikeanexecutive.com. And again, we're offering a free half-hour, coaching session with you. Roadmap your business for the next 90 days. And we've got our boot camp starting June 1st. Make sure you sign up for that. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I greatly appreciate you. Take care, guys.
Yeah.
Jason, thanks again.
Hey, thanks, Asher. I'll be in touch soon. Okay, buddy.